Hello everyone and welcome here. Now we're going to continue solving our JAMB past questions for 2021, and in this second part we're going to be attempting the next 10 questions. If you have not watched the first part, I will encourage you to do that as we solve the first 10 questions, and this is just going to be a continuation. Now before we get started, if you have not subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you can get updates on when we upload new videos. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop me a comment and I'm going to respond to them as quickly as possible. So let's get started. So question 11 says, at what rate would a sum of 100 naira deposited for 5 years raise an interest of 7.5 naira? Now this is a question relating to simple interest. I know that our simple interest is what? Principal times rate times time divided by 100. Now we've been given the principal, which is the amount that we invest. So this is the principal. We've been given the time, 5 years. We've been told the interest, 7.5 naira. Now we're told to find the rate R. So we can just substitute all of this into the equation. So our simple interest is given as 7.5 is equals to my principal is 100, my rate is what I'm looking for, and my time is what? 5 years divided by 100. So all we just do now is cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, or we can even, before we cross multiply, we can see that this 100 cancels out this 100 over here. So we do not even need to cross multiply. So we have what? 5R is equals to what? 7.5. R times 5 is 5R. So if we divide both sides by 5, we get R will just be equals to what? 7.5 divided by 5, and that is what? And that is 1.5. So the rate is going to be what? 1.5%, and that makes C the correct option. Moving on to the next question, questions 12. I thought that 3 children shared a basket of mangoes in such a way that the first child took a quarter of the mangoes and the second child 3/4 of the remainder. Then what fraction of the mangoes did the third child take? Now there are several ways to solve it, but I would like us to solve this conceptually. So let's assume, so we're going to be looking at this as a fraction. Let's assume that all the total baskets can be written as 1. They were taken out of this 1. So the first child takes a quarter of 1. So the first child takes what? Takes what? 1/4 of what I have over here of 1, which is 1/4. Now the second child takes what? 3/4 of the remainder. Now how do we calculate the remainder? Let me just put that out. So if the first child takes 1/4, we know that the remainder will just be what we have initially, which is 1 minus 1/4, and the LCM here also will be 4, and we have 4 minus 1, and that is what? 3/4. So the remainder is 3/4. So the second child takes what? 3/4, 3/4 of the remainder, which is 3/4, and that is what? And that is equals to what? 9. 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 4 is 16. So now what will the third child take? Third child. Now we know that what the first child takes plus what the second child takes plus what the third child takes must be equals to 1. So we know that the third child therefore will be, what the third child takes is going to be equals to 1 minus what the first child takes and what the second child takes. So what is this just going to be? This is just going to be 1 minus what does the first child takes? First child takes 1/4. And what does the second child takes? Second child takes what? 9/16. So let's try to simplify what we have in the bracket over here. So I will quickly do that over here. So we have 1/4 plus 9/16. The LCM is going to be 16. 16 divided by 4 is 4 times 1 is 4. And 16 and 16 is 1. 1 times 9 is 9. And 9 plus 4 is what? 13/16. So what the third child takes is just going to be what? 1 minus 13 over 16. Now we gain the LCM here is what? 16. So this is just going to be what? 16 minus 13. And what is 16 minus 13? That will be 3 over 16. So what the third child takes is 3 over 16, which is the fraction of what the child takes. And that makes A the correct option. Moving on to the next one, we're told to simplify and express in standard form this equation. Now, this is something that looks a little bit complicated, but you're going to be given a calculator that you can use. So what I suggest, the best way to go about it is with your calculator, try to multiply this by this, and when you do that, you get 0.0000176, and we do for the denominator also. We multiply this by this, and what do you get? You get 0.002. Now, when you divide this by this with your calculator, you get 0.0088. So how do you write that in standard form? Remember, this is same thing as moving our dot right here. So we'll move it here 1, 2, and 3. So we'll bring it over here. So this is going to be what? 8 times 8. 8.8 rather. I'm coming. Let me clear this off to make it a little bit neater. Yeah. So that is going to be 8.8 times 10 to the power of what? Minus 3, because I've moved it towards the right. So, and that makes what option the correct option? Option C. Now let's move on to the next question. Yeah, and in this question, we are told to simplify root of 27 plus 3 over root 3. Now this is might seem a little bit complicated, but trust me, it's very simple. So what do we do here? We just say root of 2. So let me write down the question first. We have root of 27 plus 3 over root 3. Now before we solve any further, I would like us to simplify root of 27. So now we know that root of 27, let me do that over here, can be written as what? 27 can be written as what? 9 times 3. So this is same thing as saying root of 9 times root of 3. And we know that the square root of 9 is 3. So root of 27 is the same thing as writing 3 root 3. So this is the same thing as writing 3 root 3 plus 3 over root 3. Now, to simplify what I have over here, I can multiply. So let me write that over here. So now 3 over root 3, I can simplify this by multiplying the numerator and denominator by denominator. So I can simplify that by multiplying the numerator by root 3 and the denominator by root 3. And why does that make sense? It makes sense because when I multiply by root 3 over root 3, this can cancel out to be 1. So it's the same thing as multiplying by 1. But it gives us the opportunity to be able to simplify what we have. So now this becomes what? 3 root 3 over root 3 times root 3 is just going to be 3. And this 3 cancels out this 3. And that is what? Root 3. So 3 over root 3 is the same thing as writing root 3. So this invariably becomes 3 root 3 plus 3 over root 3 we found here is same thing as root 3 plus root 3. Now, this is just like having an invisible 1 over here. So 3 root 3 plus 1 root 3 is the same thing as what? 4 root 3. And that makes option A the correct option. If this is not clear, I encourage you to watch our videos on SWORD, rationalization of SWORD, and so many concepts that I've discussed in a tutorial session. So let's move on to the next question now. And we're told that 3 brothers in a business deal share the profit at the end of a contract. So let me draw the 3 brothers over here just to make it easier for you to visualize what is happening. So the first brother, so let's call the total profit P. So the first received 1/3 the profit. So the first brother was received 1/3 of the profit P. Now the second brother received 2/3 of the remainder. So now what is 2/3 of the remainder? First we need to find the remainder. So let's say if the profit, okay, the profit is 1/3. So the remainder is just going to be what? 1 minus 1/3. The LCM of that is 3. I will have 3 minus 1, and that is 2/3. So now the brother received what? 2/3 of this remainder. So the second brother received what? 2/3, 2/3 times the remainder, which is 2/3, and that is what? 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 3 is 9. So the second brother received what? 4/9 of the profit. So let me say 4/9 p. And what did the third brother receive? The third brother received 12,000 naira. 12,000 naira. So now the question is asking us, if the third received 12,000, how much profit did they share? So that means what is the total pay? So now we can write this as an equation, because you know that 1/3p plus what? 4/9p plus what the third brother received plus 12,000 must be equals to what? Must be equals to p. So now we can try to collect like terms by bringing all of this to the other side. So we have what? 12,000 will be equals to what? P minus 1/3p, then minus 4/9p. Now this is like having p over 1. We can write out the LCM of this. So the LCM of 1, 3 and 9 is 9. So 9 divided by 1 is 9 times p. We have 9p minus 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 times p is 3p, and 9 divided by 9 is what? 1. 1 times 4 is 4, so we have minus 4p. So what does that equal? So that is something as saying 12,000 is equals to, now what is 9p minus 3p minus 4p? That will be what? 2p over 9. So we can cross multiply, and we see that what? 2p will be equals to what? 9 times 12,000, and when we divide both sides by 2, we see that p will be equals to what? 9 times 12,000 divided by 2 is 6,000, and 9 times 6,000 is what? 9 times 4 is 54, will be equals to what? 54,000. So the total profit p that is being shared by all the brothers is 54,000, which is option B. Moving on to the next question, we are told that P, we are given the coordinates of P and Q at two ends of the diameter of a circle. Now we are told to find the radius. So to make this visual, I'm going to draw a circle. And we are told that 2 points, let's call one of these points point P. We are told that the coordinate of this point is minus 6, 1. And we are given another point here. Let's call this point Q. And the coordinates of that point is 6, 6. Now we are told that what? These are two ends of the diameter of a circle. The diameter is the line that connects 2 points. So let me just do this here. Now we are told that we should calculate the radius. Now we know that the radius is just half of the diameter. So how can we find the diameter first? So now we know that when we have two coordinate points, the distance between them can be given by what? Let's call the distance, which is diameter. The distance between 2 points is the same, is equals to what? The square root of what? Of x1 or x2, any, it doesn't matter, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So we can just label our coordinates. Anyone that we choose to label x1 doesn't really matter. So we can just call this x1, y1, and we can call this what? X2 and y2. So the distance in this case will just be equals to, or the diameter will be equals to, what is x2? x2 is 6 minus, and what is my x1? Minus 6 squared plus, what is y2? y2 is 6, and y1 is what? Is 1 squared. So that will just be the equals to what? The square root of minus times minus is plus. So 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 squared plus 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 squared. And that will just be equals to the square root of 12 squared is 144, and 5 squared is 25, and that is just going to be 169, the square root of 169, and that is just going to be 13. Now you might be excited and say, oh yeah, we've gotten the distance, which is 13, and select B as the option, but that will be wrong, because what we found is what? The diameter. But the question asks us to find the radius. Now we know that the radius is just half of the diameter, so the radius is d over 2 in this case, which is going to be what? 13 divided by 2, and that is what? 6.5. So the correct option in this case is going to be option A, 6.5 units. If that makes sense, fine. If it doesn't make sense, please do feel free to leave your questions in the comments, and I'm going to answer them as quickly as I can. Moving on to the next question, we are told that the angle of a sector of a cycle radius 10.5 is 48 degrees. We are told to calculate the perimeter of the sector. So now let's assume I have a cycle. Forgive my horrible drawing. Now I'm told that the radius is what? The radius is 10.5 centimeter. Let me just draw this also here. So I know that 10.5 centimeter. I'm told that the angle is what? 48 degrees. Now I'm told to find what? The perimeter of my sector. Now the perimeter is going to what? The perimeter is going to encompass what I have over here. This is the perimeter, this red line over here and here. So I need to find the length of all these lines and sum them up. So I know what the length of this line is because it's the radius 10.5. I know what the line over here is the radius 10.5. So the next thing I need to find now is the length of this arc over here. Now I know that the length of an arc is given as what? Theta over 360 times 2 pi r. So in this case, theta is what? 48 over 360 times 2 times pi, which is 3.142 times 3.142, or 20 over 7 times r, which is 10.5. Now when you punch all of this in your calculator, you are going to get what? You're going to get 8.8. Now, so that means the length of this arc over here is what? 8.8. Now, centimeters. Now you might say, oh yeah, I've gotten the option. It's option A, 8.8, but that will not be correct because the questions ask us to find the perimeter and not the arc. So what I found now is the arc. So to find the perimeter, we need to sum up the length of this arc, which we've gotten to be 8.8, plus the length of this line over here, which is 10.5, and the length of this point over here, which is what? 10.5. And when you punch all of that into your calculator, you get what? 29.8 centimeter. So the perimeter of the sector, which includes the arc and the two radiuses, or the two radii, is going to give me what? 29.8, which is what? Option D. Moving on to the next question. The next question asks us to find the length of a rhombus whose diagonals are 6 centimeter and 8 centimeter. So you know what a rhombus is? A rhombus is just like a slanted square, in that the lengths are all equal but the angles are not. So to give you an idea, this is what a rhombus will look like. Now the lengths are all equal, you have the same length, but the angles are not equal. As you can see, the angle here is going to be bigger than the angle over here. But I've been given the length of the diagonal, so I'm going to draw the first diagonal. Now this is the longer diagonal. Now the diagonal is just the line that cuts through the edges. The first diagonal is 8, and the second diagonal, which is the shorter one, is what? 6 centimeter. Now, one of the interesting property of a rhombus is that although it's slanted, although the angles are not equal, what we know is that at the intersecting point, they all intersect at a right angle. That is one of the interesting properties of a rhombus. So we know that at this point of intersection, we have like a right angle between the angles. Now, if you look at this carefully, we can just take one of those angles. Let's just take one of these angles over here, which is a right angle. And it's really interesting because we know what the length of this is. Now we know that the full length is 6 centimeters. So we know that the length of half of them is going to be 3 and the length of the other half is going to be 3. Similarly, we know that the length of this is 8. So we know that the length of each of them, this is going to be 4 and this is going to be 4. So if I bring that one of these sections over here, what I have, let me bring out the one over here. So I have something like this. Right? Yeah. And I have this is a right angle. I have my length over here is 3 and my length over here is 4. As you can see, this is just a classic case of Pythagoras theorem, where I know that this is my hypotenuse and the square of my hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the square of my two other sides, 3 squared plus 4 squared. So I know that h square, my hypotenuse squared in this case will be 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. So h squared will be 25 and h will just be the square root of 25, and that is equals to 5. So the length over here is going to be what? 5 centimeters. And because the length of a rhombus, they all have equal length, we know that the length of the side is going to be b, which is what? 5 centimeters. As you can see, this is really simple to solve, but it involves us first trying to draw it so we can easily conceptualize what is happening over there before trying to address it. And as we see at the end of the day, this just breaks down to a Pythagoras question, and we're able to like solve for the length of our hypotenuse in this case, which is going to be the length of the side of the rhombus, which works out to be 5. If not, something is not clear, please do not forget to put a comment underneath the video, and I'm going to try to answer it as quickly as I can. Moving on to the next question, we're told that each of the interior of a regular polygon is 140 degrees. How many sides has a polygon? So we have a polygon. Polygon is just like any shape, but the issue now is a regular polygon means that they all have equal length, but they're like a polygon. Forgive my drawing, but the problem is that we don't know how many sides this polygon has. It can be 5, it can be 4, it can be 7, it can be 10. We do not know. But what we do know is the interior angle. Now, this is quite helpful because we know that the interior angle, let me put that interior angle of any regular polygon is given as n minus 2 times 180 divided by n. And this is a formula that you should know, where n is the number of sides. So we can apply this formula to find what number of sides this is. So we know that the interior angle is given as 140 is equals to, then we have n minus 2 times 180 over n. Now we can cross multiply. So we have 140n is equals to, and we can expand this, n times 180 will be 180n minus 2 times 180 is 360. So if I collect like times, I bring this over here, I have 140n minus 180n is equals to minus 360, and this resolves to minus 40n is equals to minus 360. And if I divide both sides by minus 40, I get what? N to be equals to what? To be equals to 9. So we know that this is a 9-sided polygon. And what is that called? Yeah, I think it's called a nonagon. Yeah, so the correct option to this will be option A. Now I'm going to be moving on to the final question for the second part of our JAMB Past Question for 2021. And this is a rather interesting question. And as I've mentioned many times and many of the tutorial questions, if it helps, it's always a good idea to see how you can draw a schematic of what you have been asked to address, because it helps you to better conceptualize what it is you're trying to solve. And that is the same approach we're going to be taking to address this question. Now I thought that I see cylinder pipe. So to conceptualize that, I'm going to draw a pipe. So we have a pipe. which is cylindrical. So we have the outer radius, and now we have, like, you know the way a pipe is, you have like a hollow in between the pipe. Yeah, so this is our pipe. Now we're told that the internal radius of the pipe is 10 centimeters. So that means the distance from the center of the pipe to the internal radius, which is what is here, is what, 10 centimeter. Now we are told that the thickness of the pipe is 3 centimeters. That means the thickness, distance from here to here, is what, 3 centimeters. Now we are told that find the volume of metal used in making 3 meters of the pipe. So if you have like 3 meters of the pipe, let's just draw the pipe. We have a 3 meter long pipe. We are told to find what volume of material has gone into making that section of the pipe, which is what, 3 meters. So the way to think about it is, now we need to find the volume of this part over here. I'm going to try to shade that so you can try to figure that, so you can easily see what I'm talking about. So we're trying to find the volume of this section that I've shaded over here. Now, how do we find the volume of that section? If we think about it carefully, there's no formula for like finding the volume of this, of the thickness section. But what we can do is that we can find the volume of this bigger section over here. Let me say the volume of this bigger section where the radius is 13, and we can subtract it from that of the smaller section of the cylinder, which is what, 10. And when we're left with, if we subtract the volume of this cylinder from the volume of this cylinder, what we'll be left with is the volume of this tiny section in between here. Now we know that the volume of a cylinder is given as what, pi times what, r squared times a. So this is the formula for calculating the volume of our cylinder. So we can apply that to this. So we have our pi, our radius here is what, 13 squared, and our height here is what, 3 meters. But before we proceed, we have to look carefully. Now we've been given our radius in centimeter, thickness in centimeter, and our options also in centimeter. So that means we have to convert our height also to centimeter before we can proceed. So we know that 3 meters, to convert it to centimeter, we just multiply by 100. So we know that 3 meters is the same thing as what, 300 centimeter. So we can use that in here. So we have 300 minus, then we have pi, then we have 10 squared multiplied by 300. So what is common that we can factorize out? We have 300 pi is common. So we have 300 pi, and we're left with what, 13 squared minus 10 squared. So that just becomes what, 300 pi. 13 squared is 169, and 10 squared is 100, and that becomes what, 300 pi times 69. And what is 369? That's going to give you 20700 pi cm cube. So the correct option to this is going to be what? It's going to be option D. Now I hope that makes sense, and if you have any question, please do make sure you mention them in the comments, and I will do well to answer them as quickly as possible. Now this concludes the second part of our 4-part series for JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2021. So do well to join me in part 3, where we solve the next 10 questions. And if you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and turn off the notification bell so that you can get updates when we release any news video. Bye for now, and I'm going to see you soon.